UK is 9 a.m. Hello everyone, welcome back to this week's class, which is class 39 of the Medicine Master Buddha Sutra. Today we have Guatli, who's going to request for Dharma on behalf of everyone. Guatli, I'm going to advance the slide, and when you're ready, you can begin. Okay?
Dạ. 恭敬大德身体，为此法会替一切众生，请转了法轮，教导我如何了生多是离苦得出尘无生。Woe the Sangha with great virtue, out of compassion, for the sake of His assembly and all living beings, please turn the wonderful Dharma wheel to teach us how to live and attain, to live suffering and attain bliss, and end birth and death, and quickly realize non-birth.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one. Namo sadanto sucheto ye alahati sanmiao sanputo che. Wu shang shen shen wei miao fa, bai qian wan jie nan zao yi. Wo jin jian wen de shou chu, yan jie ru lai zhen shu yi. Supreme and wondrous Dharma, subtle and profound, rarely is encountered, even in a billion eons. But now we see and hear it and accept it reverently. May we truly understand the Buddha's actual meaning. Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, Venerable Master, and all good knowing advisors, welcome back to this week's exploration of the Medicine Master Buddha Sutra. This is class number 39, and we are still exploring the practice of giving and generosity. But before we go there, let's recite Medicine Master Buddha's name 7 times. I'm going to invite everyone to join me in putting our palms together. Namo, quelling disasters, lengthening life, Medicine Master Buddha. 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 Medicine Master does come one, Medicine Master does come one, Medicine Master does come one, Medicine Master does come one. Excuse me. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Let me get the slide out for today. Isn't that a nice photo? Someone who came to Berkeley Monastery before took that photo. I think that's a photo of Tibet. Yeah. So I asked if I could have it. She said yes. Okay. All right. Let's continue on our subject of giving and generosity. As usual, before we begin, does anyone have anything they would like to share? Anything interesting? Anything related to the Dharma? Anything related to giving and generosity? To practice? Reflections from last week or the weeks before? Anyone? No? That's my cricket sound. Okay.
Oh yeah, I'll raise my hand.
Hi, JinHe. Okay,
Hello.
yes. All right.
Yeah, I can say something at the end about some things that I heard about recently. That
Okay.
exceptional giving.
Exceptional
And
giving. Wow.
exceptional.
Okay.
Places that people never dream of.
Oh. All right. How much time do you think you will need, JinHe?
Oh, the same. 5-10 minutes or so.
5-10
Maybe.
minutes?
Yeah,
Okay.
5 minutes maybe.
All right.
Just stories. Yeah.
Okay. If I because I find giving to be a very interesting topic and I get absorbed into it. If I ramble on and I forget the time, can someone please remind me? Just unmute the mic and remind me. Okay. All right.
Okay.
Thank you. So last week, we talked about how, or rather, one of the implications that I didn't speak about last week, but I hope everyone figured out, is that as confused living beings, we are unable to understand how cause and effect works. So it kind of makes sense from a perverted logical point of view that someone who's stingy would want to hoard their money because they don't want to lose their wealth or whatever they have. Okay. Excuse me. I'm sorry. I just give me a minute. Let me shut the door behind me. Okay, hold on. Yeah. Sorry about that, everyone. Okay. So, because we are unable to see cause and effect in action, we don't really understand the benefits of giving or even how to give. So for someone who's stingy, their logic is that you don't give because by keeping what you have, you don't lose what you have. But the Buddha says that it is this very habit or trait of someone who's stingy that causes them to not have any wealth in their future lives. So based on what we've explored so far as how the Buddha has explained or demonstrated giving to us, is that you're not giving away, but rather you are investing in your own future. That's a more accurate way of looking at generosity. By being generous to others, you are actually multiplying your blessings for future lives. And if the conditions are right, you reap the blessings in this very life as well, as we saw in the story of the couple who were so poor that they had only one pair of trousers. So I think that's pretty important. We have to shift our frame, our perspective of when something goes away out of generosity, it doesn't really go away, but in fact it multiplies and comes back. So the Buddha said, giving to an animal, you get repaid back. The offering may be expected to repay 100-fold, and that's just an animal. And the Buddha went on to someone who is outside the dispensation. Last week I wasn't very sure what outside the dispensation meant. This week I am sure. It means that someone who the verse was to one outside the dispensation who is free from lust for sensual pleasures. So someone who is you could say someone who has practiced to a level where they have decreased their desires and attachments, but they do it outside of the Buddha's teachings. Okay, it's not a judgment call, it's not something that's bad or not, it's just the Buddha presenting a fact that if you perform an act of generosity to someone like that, your return is 100,000 times 100,000 fold. That's 100,000 times by 100,000. So that's 100. There's 5 zeros. You add another 5 zeros. How much is that? I don't know. And so the Buddha goes on to say, what more? Someone who is on the path to stream entry, and then all the way to a Tathagata, to Arhat. So that's what we covered last week. So this week, let's look at our screens, and this is from Sutta AN 8.59. It's called One Worthy of Gifts. So here, I'll just read it. The Buddha is explaining who he sees as being worthy of gifts. Okay, so I'm going to put my palms together and read it. It says, there are these 8 individuals who are worthy of gifts, worthy of hospitality, worthy of offerings, worthy of reverential salutation, the unsurpassed field of merit for the world. Which 8? The one who has entered the stream, the one who has entered upon the cause for the realization of the fruit of stream entry, the one's returner, the one who has entered upon the cause for the realization of the fruit of one's returning, the non-returner, the one who has entered upon the cause for the realization of the fruit of non-returning, the Arahant, the one who has entered upon the cause for Arahantship. These are the 8 individuals who are worthy of gifts, worthy of hospitality, worthy of offerings, worthy of reverential salutation, the unsurpassed field of merit for the world. Okay. So this slide is from last week, if you recall. Okay. And the reason why I'm sharing it again this week is because it has something to do with the next slide that we have. And as a monk, I am because Shufu always says left-home people should not climb on conditions. We should not request for. We should always guard the mind, because the mind has a tendency to want offerings, to want things, and to Shufu wants all left-home people as well as lay people from the 6 guidelines of the City of 10,000 Buddhas to be very careful not to drop hints of wanting things. So whenever I come across this sutta, or when I have to explain who are the worthy, how the Buddha explains who is one worthy of gifts, I get a bit self-conscious, as in, is the Buddha saying that we should only give to his disciples? And is he saying that only give to, and also is the Buddha saying that only these 8 categories of people should be given to? How about everyone else? Okay, how about like myself, who is not in part of the 8 categories? And ironically, that's how would I say? That's opposing the not being given to idea that Shufu wants us to have. Okay, so the next slide is someone who actually had the same thought, and he asked the Buddha about it. So this is AN 3.57. This person is Vachagota, the wanderer. I believe when he is described as the wanderer, he's kind of like a mendicant, but someone who's outside the dispensation, meaning he doesn't see the Buddha as his master or as his teacher, at least not yet, at least not at the beginning of his questioning. So he had the same question. Okay, let's read it. He says, then Vachagota the wanderer went to the Blessed One, which is the Buddha, and on arrival exchanged courteous greetings with him. After an exchange of friendly greetings and courtesies, he sat to one side. As he was sitting there, he said to the Blessed One, Master Gotama, I have heard that Gotama the contemplative says this, only to me should a gift be given and not to others. Only to my disciples should a gift be given and not to others. Only what is given to me bears great fruit and not what is given to others. Only what is given to my disciples bears great fruit and not what is given to the disciples of others. Okay, so he's clarifying with the Buddha. He says that, I've heard this is what you say, only give gifts to yourself or to your disciples, and it's only you and your disciples who will where a gift is given to, it will bear great results, which is actually you can't blame him for asking, because in the sutta that we just read, the Buddha talks about who are the 8 categories of people who are worthy of gifts, right? Okay, so this is a fair question to ask. All right, let's see what the Buddha replied. So this is the Buddha's reply. He says, now those who report this, are they reporting the Master Gotama's actual words? Are they he's still clarifying with the Buddha. He says, now those who report this, are they reporting the Master Gotama's actual words? Are they not misrepresenting him with what is unfactual? Are they answering in line with the Dharma? So that no one whose thinking is in line with the Dharma will have grounds for criticizing them. For we don't want to misrepresent the Master Gotama. So this Vacha, the wanderer, is very skillful. He, before making a judgment, he asks the Buddha, and he gives his reason why. And the reason is that before Vacha, the wanderer, confirms any rumors or something, he goes directly to the source to hear for himself. So the Buddha replied, he says, Vacha, whoever says this, Gotama the contemplative says this, only to me should a gift be given, only what is given to my disciples bears great fruit, and not what is given to the disciples of others. The Buddha said, is not reporting my actual words, is misrepresenting me from what is unfactual and untrue. Okay? What does the Buddha say next? He says, Vacha, whoever prevents another from giving a gift creates 3 obstructions, 3 impediments. Which 3? Okay, the first is he creates an obstruction to the merit of the giver. Second is an obstruction to the recipient's gains. And third, and prior to that, he undermines and harms his own self. Whoever prevents another from giving a gift creates these 3 obstructions, these 3 impediments. Okay, you realize that the Buddha, when he says this, he's not limiting it to preventing a gift to only these 8 categories. He says preventing a gift. Okay, any gift. And it says, I tell you, Vacha, even if a person throws the rinsings of a bowl or a cup into a village pool or pond, thinking, may whatever animals live here feed on this, that would be a source of merit, to say nothing of what is given to human beings. But I do say that what is given to a virtuous person is of great fruit, and not so much what is given to an unvirtuous person. Okay, so the Buddha is making it very clear that he supports, that he says no one should ever obstruct anyone else who wants to give, even yourself. Okay, if you want to give, but don't influence another person not to give, because you create 3 impediments. And the Buddha clarifies that, says even as we saw last week, even feeding an animal, there are great rewards to be had. So what else for a human being? But he does make a distinction between in the last sentence he says, but I do say that what is given to a virtuous person is of great fruit, and not so much what is given to an unvirtuous person. So any form of giving that you do bears fruit. But if you are lucky enough to be able to give to someone who has virtue, like the 8 categories of people, then naturally your rewards will be higher. Okay. Alright, so this is Shufu talking about on the same topic. He says giving impartially. Shufu says, if you discriminate when making offerings, great merit and virtue will become small, and small merit and virtue will become even smaller. We may be sincere when making offerings to the Buddha, but less sincere when making offerings to living beings. He says this is wrong. Let me give you an example of what I mean. You offer food to the teacher to show your respect, but if you're giving the food to other people, you might not be as sincere. This means you are still making discriminations. Okay, people who have done food offerings to the Buddha or to Shufu, either like to Shufu, if you have been lucky enough to actually offer when Shufu was still around, you know how it feels to be able to offer, to be able to prepare the offering bowl and to put the food in front of either the Buddha or Shufu. If you do it sincerely, all of you who have done it, you know exactly how it feels like. It is a done properly, it is a transformative act of practice, and it leaves you feeling a lot better than before you do it. Okay, so Shufu is saying, but how do you practice? Do you give with the same mind when you give to other people? That's what Shufu is saying right now. Okay. Shufu continues to say, you should not think making offerings to this person is more meritorious than making offerings to that person. With such a thought, great merit will become small, and small merit will become even smaller. Shufu says the Buddha was deeply afraid that no one would make offerings to his disciples, so he said, the merit and virtue of making offerings to the Buddha is the same as that of making offerings to living beings. Okay. The Buddha was tremendously kind and compassionate. To ensure that his disciples would have food to eat, the Buddha taught people not to discriminate, but to give impartially and treat everyone the same. Everyone should pay attention to how cruel it is to compete to make offerings to the teacher while the disciples starve to death. That's why I don't eat the food you have offered. If I ate too much today and felt dizzy, would you say you had merit and virtue or not? So this talk was given on 29th of October 1985. I think at the time there were probably, I'm just guessing, probably some people who actually had that thought. When they made offerings, they only thought about Shufu. They only had Shufu in mind, which is very normal. And they never thought about everyone else, like the rest of the monks, the nuns, the people, the volunteers living in the temple. Their minds didn't go there. So Shufu is trying to expand the scope of their hearts and the minds to be more on the Mahayana path of giving. And I have a very funny video which I would like to share. Let me look for it. I already have it. Okay. What happens when you are impartial? What happens when you are partial in your giving? Okay, let me show you this video. And change my optimize for sound clip. Okay, I'm not sure if there's sound, but I'm just going to share sound and see what happens. Okay, are you ready? I titled this video Monkey, Cucumber and Grape. You figure it out. Okay, so in case people are struggling to figure out what's going on, they have trained the monkeys to the monkey gives a rock to the researcher, and then the researcher rewards the monkey with food. And if you look at the bottom of the screen where the hand is, on the left is a bowl of cucumbers, and on the right is a bowl of grapes. Okay, cucumbers and grapes. So the monkey on the left has just, in the beginning of the video, given the researcher a rock, and this monkey gets a cucumber as the reward. Okay. Okay, so the monkey on the right gets a grape, whereas the monkey on the left got a cucumber. So monkeys are not dumb. See, the monkey on the left knows that the monkey on the right is getting a grape. Okay, so don't give partial offerings. Okay, Shifu says, because when you do, you make people upset. All right. Okay. Let's go back to our slides. Okay, now this is called AN 5.31. There's a person of royalty. Her name is Princess Sumana, and she wants to know the difference between someone who gives alms, meaning offerings to left-home people, and someone who does not. Okay, she wants to know, is there any difference? That's a question to the Buddha. Okay, so I'm going to read it. It says, now on that occasion, Princess Sumana asked the Buddha, suppose there were two disciples of the Blessed One, equal in conviction, virtue, and discernment, but one was a giver of alms and the other was not. At the breakup of the body after death, they will reappear in a good destination in the heavenly world. Having become devas, would there be any distinction, any difference between the two? Okay, so she already knows the reward for giving. Okay, because she assumes, rightly so, that by giving alms, that there's a reward of heavenly rebirth. But she's asking the difference between I'm sorry, I said that wrongly. She understands that if there are two disciples of the Buddha and who have equal levels of conviction, virtue, and discernment, meaning they have equal levels of practice and wisdom and everything. Okay, they're all the same. And that after the breakup of the body, after death, they will reappear in the heavenly world. But the difference is one gives alms, one does not. Okay, what's the difference? Okay, let's see what the Buddha says. The Buddha says, yes, there would, said the Blessed One. The one who was a giver of alms on becoming a deva would surpass the other in 5 areas: in divine lifespan, divine beauty, divine pleasure, divine status, and divine power. It says, and if they were to fall from there and reappear in this world, having become human beings, would there be any distinction, any difference between the two? This is the princess asking again. Okay, so the princess got the answer to her question. There's a huge difference. Let's go back to the previous slide. So the Buddha says, yes, there is a huge difference in their lifespan, in the way they look, the beauty, in the pleasures that they enjoy, in their status. So in heavens, you have different status as well. And in their powers or their abilities, the one who gives alms would surpass the other in all these areas. And these are two people whose practice are the same. Okay, you can say they're identical in their wisdom, their practice, their understanding, and everything, but the only difference is giving alms. So she has another question. She asks about when their heavenly lifespan ends and they come back to the world as humans, is there going to be any difference? So the Buddha says, yes, there would, said the Blessed One. The one who was a giver of alms on becoming a human being would surpass the other in 5 areas: in human lifespan, human beauty, human pleasure, human status, and human power. So that's why there's a lot of different classes and levels among human beings. Okay. And then now she's asking again. It says, and if they were to go forth from home into the homeless life of a monk. Having gone forth, would there be any distinction, any difference between the two? So now she's asking about for lay people. Two lay people, identical in every way, except one gives alms, one doesn't. And both of them become monks or nuns. Okay. Buddha said, yes, there would. The one who was a giver of alms on going forth would surpass the other in 5 areas. He would often be asked to make use of robes. It would be rare that he wouldn't be asked. He would often be asked to take food, to make use of shelter, to make use of medicine. It would be rare he wouldn't be asked. His companions in the holy life would often treat him with pleasing actions, pleasing words, pleasing thoughts, and present him with pleasing gifts, and rarely with unpleasing gifts. So huge difference again. Okay, how do you want to go into this? Well, the simplest way is that someone who is already, has the natural disposition to give alms. I think there would be something in that person's character that would just make them more naturally easygoing with people, more of a pleasant disposition kind of thing, and so the results would be different for that person. The way they would what's the word I'm looking for? When they mix with their fellow monks and lay people, the pleasant. This is the result of their pleasant disposition. Okay. And then she has another question. She says, and if both were to attain arahantship, now she's asking about if these two left-home people were to become arhats, says, would there be any distinction, any difference between their attainments of arahantship? And then the Buddha says, in that case, I tell you there will be no difference between the two as to their release. And then she replies, His awesome Lord and astounding, just this is reason enough to give alms, to make merit, in that it benefits one as a deva, as a human being, and as a monk. So Buddha is saying, once you become arhat, they're all level and equal. All arhats are the same. But before that, giving alms makes a huge difference. Okay. Okay, next we have, we're going to look at the benefits to be obtained from wealth. It's called the Adiya Sutta. And this is the Buddha, the context is the Buddha speaking to Anatta Pindika. Pindika, if you are part of our WhatsApp group, you would have known by now that he is considered one of the Buddha's most generous lay supporters. The Jeta Grove was donated to the Buddha and his disciples, was from Anatta Pindika. Okay, and he was a householder, a lay person. So it says, the sutta starts with Anatta Pindika. He went to the Blessed One, the Buddha. He bowed to the Buddha, sat to one side. As he was sitting there, the Blessed One said to him, he says, there are these 5 benefits that can be obtained from wealth. Which 5? Okay. So the Buddha is speaking to one of the richest lay supporters and one of the richest lay people in India at that time. It says, there is the case where the disciple of the noble ones, using the wealth earned through his efforts and enterprise, amassed through the strength of his arm, and piled up through the sweat of his brow, righteous wealth righteously gained. Okay, someone who has worked and who has a self-made man or woman. Okay, Buddha says, provides himself with pleasure and satisfaction and maintains that pleasure rightly. Meaning, you don't have to be guilty when you use your own wealth. Okay, there's nothing to feel bad about. Okay, the Buddha says he provides his mother and father with pleasure and satisfaction and maintains that pleasure rightly. He provides his children, his wife, his slaves, servants and assistants with pleasure and satisfaction and maintains that pleasure rightly. This is the first benefit that can be obtained from wealth. So the Buddha is saying, if you are rich then if you use the money in this way, this is a very good benefit. So you don't have to be so stingy that you're afraid to use money for yourself. It is rightly so that you should use the money not just for yourself, but also for your family. And it says here slaves, because that was what was going on during that time. To your employees, to the people who help you manage your household, your wealth, your family. So Buddha says this is the first benefit. Buddha continues, says, furthermore, the disciple of the noble ones, using the wealth earned through his efforts and enterprise, etc., provides his friends and associates with pleasure and satisfaction, and maintains that pleasure rightly. This is the second benefit that can be obtained from wealth. So being generous with friends and associates, I can't pronounce it, associates, people you know, either through business or through social circles. Third one, it says disciple of the noble ones, again, self-made person. That means you earn your wealth through not through legal means. You're not cheating or stealing. It says, wards off calamities coming from fire, flood, kings, thieves, or hateful heirs, and keeps himself safe. Says this is the third benefit that can be obtained from wealth. Maybe you hire bodyguards, you build your house on a mountaintop away from floods, and you can afford to do all this. It says this is a third benefit. Okay. The fourth one is what? It says performs the 5 oblations to relatives, guests, the dead, kings, and devas. I think oblations here, offerings. Says this is the fourth benefit that can be obtained from wealth. Okay, let's see what the fifth one is. Okay, so the fifth one is institutes offerings of supreme aim, heavenly, resulting in happiness, leading to heaven, given to Brahmins and contemplatives who abstain from intoxication and heedlessness, who endure all things with patience and humility, each taming himself, each restraining himself, each taking himself to unbinding. This is the fifth benefit that can be obtained from wealth. Okay, so I think this, first the Buddha talks about the intention behind the giving. It says the aim is supreme, meaning you have either heavenly intentions that results in happiness, then who you give to people who have virtue, and also including the eight categories of people who are worthy of gifts. Being able to do that, to have the blessings to do this, the Buddha says is the fifth benefit that can be obtained from wealth. Okay. Then the Buddha concludes by saying, if it so happens that when a disciple of the noble ones obtains these 5 benefits from wealth, I think there's missing an if. If his wealth goes to depletion, the thought occurs to him, even though my wealth has gone to depletion, I have obtained the 5 benefits that can be obtained from wealth, and he feels no remorse. And the second paragraph says, if it so happens that when a disciple of the noble ones obtains these 5 benefits from wealth, his wealth increases. The thought occurs to him, I have obtained the 5 benefits that can be obtained from wealth, and my wealth has increased, and he feels no remorse. So he feels no remorse in either case. So the first one is saying, if you have wealth and you use it in a very skillful way, like in the 5 benefits that the Buddha just mentioned, you use it to benefit yourself, your family, people who you have relationships with, associations with, you benefit them as well, you have the ability to make offerings, then even if you were to lose your wealth, because you have used your wealth wisely, you have no regrets, you have no remorse. So what more if you use your wealth wisely and your wealth still increases, then of course there's no remorse to be had. So yes, you should go ahead and enjoy your wealth or income. Don't feel guilty if you choose to enjoy it, to indulge yourself or your family, people you care about. Okay, that's so this slide is from the same sutta, but it's in verse form. Verse form says, "My wealth has been enjoyed, my dependents supported, protected from calamities by me. I have given supreme offerings and performed the 5 oblations. I have provided for the virtuous, the restrained, followers of the holy life. For whatever aim a wise holder, for whatever aim a wise householder would desire wealth, that aim I have attained. I have done what will not lead to future distress. When this is recollected by a mortal, a person established in the Dharma of the Noble Ones, he is praised in this life and after death rejoices in heaven." And this is actually what happened to Anathapindika. He, in the course of giving, he gave away all his wealth, and he still continued to give, although he had nothing left. But he still gave what he could. He never regretted, because he knew that when he had the opportunity, he never squandered the opportunity to give, to generate blessings. Why don't you regret? Because you know that when you die, good things are going to come your way. Okay, you are assured, because you have not given away, you have actually invested in your own future well-being. And then through a very long story, which we shall not go into today, through the help of a spirit, he got back all his wealth. His wealth was washed away in a flood, but he got back all his wealth. And upon his death, he was reborn, I think, in the Triumph Trimsha heaven. I have to check the story again. So this is his actual story. Okay, let me see. It's 9:42. I want to show you, before I call on you, Jinrosha, let me show you another video. I found it to be quite hilarious, about animals. Okay, even animals know how to give. Okay, let me pull up that video. Did I say animals know how to give? Oh my. Okay. Jinroshu?
All right, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Okay, this is a story that was in the newspaper. This happened in a prison in California. And it seemed that in this prison, one of the teachers there who was teaching reading or writing or something, he decided to have like a book club from the prison. In the book club, they invited students and people in the community to come in to discuss books. And there was one young boy in the 10th grade. He was a young black boy who came to this group, and there were a lot of the inmates. They had a really good group going, and the young boy, he was a sophomore, maybe a freshman or a sophomore, but he was going to a Catholic school, a private school, and his mother got hit in the eye with a baseball, so she couldn't work anymore. And his father had a heart attack and he had surgery, and he lost his job. And so he couldn't go to the school, this beautiful Catholic school he'd been going to. Tuition was very expensive, but his parents paid for it all these years. And so he told the teacher about that he would have to go to a public school. And the teacher says, fine, no problem. But the teacher told the prison inmates about this young boy that he was giving up a school that he loved and he really wanted to go there. And the inmates themselves raised $32,000 and paid tuition for this young boy for 3 years so he could go there and finish high school in the school.
Jinroshu, wait. Could you explain again his relationship with the inmates?
Okay, he was a student in a local Catholic school. This young boy was, and he came to the prison as part of this book club because the book club was in the prison, and people were allowed to come inside the prison for this book club, and they would discuss books. And many people in the community would come and they would discuss books. They'd read books together and discuss them. And this young boy was part of this discussion group. And so when his parents became ill, his mother got hit in the eye with a baseball. She was a seamstress. She couldn't sew anymore. His father had a heart attack. He had to stop going to school and go to a public school. But the inmates decided that they would pay for his tuition.
Wow.
So they raised 32,000, I think, because it was a very expensive Catholic school. So they raised $32,000 to pay for his tuition for the entire 3 years. Now, how did the prisoners do this? The prisoners had jobs. They could have a small job here and there, or their parents would give them money. Some of them had businesses. They were in prison. They had a business. And they still had an income. And so they all put their money together and they paid for this young boy's tuition. You get it?
Yes. Wow, that's really outstanding because apparently if you're in prison, even if you work, the amount that you get is very little, and you still have to pay for some things that you need for yourself. So that's very impressive to
Yeah, I thought it was very, very impressive. There was an article in one of the newspapers about that. So I thought that was really extraordinary giving. And it actually changed the life of the prisoners to do that. For them, it gained merit for them, and actually even helped them to get paroled, quicker, because they instead of fighting or whatever you do in prison or scheming, they were spending all their time and their all money trying to find ways to help this young boy, and they forgot about themselves. And as a result, their character changed. And so a lot of them were able to, they kind of followed up with this. And some of them, as a result of this, they were able to be paroled earlier. So that's one of the benefits of giving to this young boy. Okay, another story is a true story from my sister. my sister lives in Texas. She's retired. She and her husband retired, and she's always worked with just she always reports homeless shelters and food banks and the volunteer fire department. And there was a company, and two young men made socks. They had a sock company, and they decided what they wanted to do because they said we want to do something to help somebody, to help the homeless. So what can we do? And they decided socks. Homeless people need socks. They always need socks. They're always having to move and leave their socks behind. Their socks wear out. Their socks get wet. They don't have any dry socks. And they decided what they would have this program where every time somebody would buy a pair of socks for them, they would give a free pair of socks to a homeless person. And it's called, I forgot what it's called. Bumba. Bomba. Bombas, they're made from cotton and from wool and natural materials, natural fibers. And the socks are made, they're work socks. They're not like beautiful, socks with polka dots. They're real work, heavy duty socks. And so now this company has grown into what they're wealthy. I mean, the two young men are, because so many people buy socks for them and all over the country, everywhere. My sister is one of the distributors. And so her garage is full of socks. She gets hundreds of socks every week that are sent to her from this company. And then she finds out who needs them. And she goes around from place to place. This is in northern Texas. People are very poor there. There are a lot of immigrants that live there in Oklahoma. People are farmers and they don't really make that much money. And right now, there are a lot of people who are homeless because they're, they don't have any jobs. They're out of because of the COVID and because of different things. So she goes around every week. She makes 2 or 3 runs going to all these different centers and finding out places where people need socks.
What are the names again? What is the
Bomba,
name? Bomba.
bomba, bomba, bomba,
BOMBA. Oh, okay, I found it. Let me
bomba.
share the screen with everyone.
Yeah. So if you, it was pretty amazing.
Is that the one? Can you see it on your screen, Jinrosha?
That's it. That's it. Yeah. So for Christmas, she sent me some Bumba socks for Christmas as a present. So for every sock that I have, a homeless person got a pair of socks too. That's it. Yeah, Bumba. Yeah. Oh, they're giving away how many? Wow.
It says 45 million, almost 46 million items donated.
Donated, socks donated, yeah. And you can see they're very simple, very useful socks.
Wow, that's really impressive.
So every time you purchase a pair of socks, you actually donate one. So it's really passing it along. So many people benefit. And now they're finding out that it's so popular. Now they started making T-shirts and underwear. And so every time you buy a T-shirt from them now, a pair of underwear, then you also donate to the homeless people.
Maybe we can start one in Malaysia too.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I think it's wonderful. You have to do that.
Thanks. Yeah, and your sister is one of the distributors or people who help.
Yeah. She finds out places that need them and she takes them. It's very lot of COVID in that area there because of them. And so she leaves them off. She does a telephone call. They have a whole system out. She calls and lets them know that she's coming and how many socks they need and where to leave them. And so she goes there, she calls them, and then she lets them off. And then the people, come out wearing shields and they take them and they distribute them then in their own local community. Different people, churches do that. Different recreation centers do it. Just community centers do it. That's it. We're bombas.
Wow, thanks. Yeah, make a purchase, make a difference. The greatest sock never sold.
Yeah, never sold.
What it says. Yeah. Okay, anyone else? Anyone? Okay, we have to make a rule. Every week someone must have something interesting to share. Okay, let me bring up the slide to transfer merit. Okay. Oh, Hilda has something. Okay, Hilda has. Oh, I think Hilda found. Oops, it says.
Yes, I found the story that Chinro just told about the inmates.
Oh, great.
Yeah, you can check it online.
But
Yeah,
it
it's
says.
online, yeah.
It says page not found.
Oh,
Oh,
Yeah.
it's
no,
what is
it
it?
is. It is. I have it here on my
Really?
computer.
Okay.
Yeah.
I maybe my browser. If I change browser. But it's in the chat box, so everyone can get it from the chat box. Okay.
Yeah, that's an amazing story.
It's amazing. It's just amazing, yeah.
Anyone else?
Thank you.
If not, then we can dedicate merit. We just started today the 3000 Buddha bowing repentance at Ten Pian Monastery in Kuala
Oh.
Lumpur. Yeah. So I was bowing this morning. Then I came back to start the class, and then right after this, I'm gonna join them again in the Buddha Hall. So we'll see everyone next week. In the meantime, if you have any opportunities to be generous, to practice giving, or to create any opportunities, and you have a good experience and you want to share next week, please do. All right. Okay, so I'm going to invite everyone to join me in putting our palms together. May every living being, our minds as one and radiant with light, share the fruits of peace with hearts of goodness, luminous and bright. If people hear and see how hands and hearts can find in giving unity, may their minds awake to great compassion, wisdom, and to joy. May kindness find reward. May all who sorrow leave their grief and pain. May this boundless light dispel the darkness of their endless night. Because our hearts are one, this world of pain turns into paradise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. I'm going to do 3 bows to the Buddha and then 3 bows to Shufu. First bow. Second bow. Third bow. Half bow. Bowing respect to the Venerable Master. Second bow. Third bow. Half bow. Alright everyone, see you next week. Bye bye.